It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. A key element of the Titans' passing offense this season, throwing the football out of the backfield to Derrick Henry. He talked about being a part of the passing game, although did have 2 drops against Indianapolis on Sunday. Henry discussed that a little bit with the media.
Yeah, I just get a little excited, because like you said, it doesn't happen often, and I just got to look the ball in and catch it and, try to make a play.
Titans take on the Washington Commanders Sunday at noon on the road, awaiting the practice report that will come out later on this afternoon. But tonight, Thursday Night Football involving the AFC South as the Indianapolis Colts, looking to avoid a 1-3-1 start to the season. They pay a visit to the Denver Broncos out of the AFC West. Running back Jonathan Taylor has been ruled out after an ankle injury suffered in Sunday's loss to the Titans. You can hear the Westwood One coverage right here on 104.5 The Zone. Kickoff at 7:15. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. All right, I got to count on fantastic folks out there. I need some medical advice. So if anybody's listening, if you're a doctor or you played one on TV. So in the fall, when the weather changes, I have all these headaches. I got to figure something out to stop. So,
Dr. Bishop, you need to come to the rescue?
well, I mean, you're our show orthopedic surgeon. You're our show.
I can't be a doctor, too. Right?
I've said this before, show director of content.
wish
You're
I
also probably the most knowledgeable groin expert in Middle Tennessee. So I'm always telling people, if you see Blaine at a restaurant with his family or you see him at the mall, say, hey, Hitman, if you've got some groin issues, hey, man, would you take a look at this?
I only learned through my experiences, so, yeah. Yeah, man, after, there's some nice headphones over there. I think I may use those. Whose are those?
Oh, man, those are nice.
Those are nice right there.
Who sits over there now? It's been some changes around here. Is that Kayla?
Kayla does sit there, but I think those are Robert's.
You better tell Kayla they may come up missing.
Yeah, those are fancy. Welcome aboard, Kayla. Yeah, leave some fancy headphones in here.
Welcome aboard. Headphones gone.
Yes. So people steal headphones here? I don't know if Dawn sits there.
I wouldn't steal them. I would just borrow them. Oh, they may be Dawn's.
No, those are definitely not Dawn's.
Okay.
I think she's gotten to the point where she takes hers home with her and doesn't leave them around anymore.
That's probably smart.
Yeah, but
She was hanging out at UCF last night.
She was. Blowout for Gus.
Vader got Luke Skywalker last night. Gus got his protege, Lashley. That's some of my A-State guys.
Yeah,
it was A-State fingerprints all over that deal.
And Lashley worked for him at Auburn,
I
right?
met both of those
He
guys.
worked with him at Arkansas State, at Auburn. He played for him in high school. Gus was his high school coach.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. Gus was his high school coach.
Master beat student in that one.
I'm mad at Lucas right now.
For not knowing that? Oh. Or something
I
else?
can't hear. That's why I'm up here not talking about what y'all talking about.
Oh, well, hello. What's
I'm mad at Lucas right now. This is his fault.
I'm no engineer.
My
Headphone
headphones
jack.
do not work. If headphone jack does not work.
This is how long now? 6 days?
Well, I told him on Sunday.
Okay.
It wasn't, Lucas was not here,
Fine,
but then I
man.
told him on Monday because I told somebody else that I knew they wasn't going to get there.
We need an extension cord to run you.
So I've been using
here.
other headphones and it reached all the way from the other one. I don't know, man. I don't think people get. You know what? I need to go to the head boss man. Yep, Paul Mason. Yep, right here, Paul Mason. I can't hear, but you can't, talk back to me. But I know I'm talking to the mic. Please get my headphone jack fixed immediately.
Nah, you don't need to hear. You're not missing anything.
I can't hear, man. I can't, but sometimes my wife says I can't hear anyway. So, and I wonder if I'm just not listening.
I think that's called selective
Or
hearing.
selective hearing.
Yeah, I think there's a real chance.
But I did hear that you do need a doctor. So anyone wants to call in to help Mickey out, to help him with his headaches. And I told him it's allergies because whenever the weather changes, he said to a certain extent that he's having headaches.
Your eye has been all crazy with allergies.
That's because of my allergies. I have
Okay.
to put eye drops in one eye, and then I have to take allergy medicine, Zyrtec D, whatever the strongest one is, and it makes me sleepy.
You put the D in there, and that makes you crazy. I'm just saying, anything with the D on the end.
Hey, man, better get this guy. He said you put the D in there.
It's decongested. Any allergy medicine with a D is going to come get you.
Yeah, I know, man. They say don't take too much.
There's a
Don't
whole
take too much
Sudafed
of that.
Mickey thing that's out there from me taking
Yeah,
that.
they have you. I have to show my ID getting this stuff.
Well, they think you're going to go home and boil it down and cook meth out of it.
Oh, that's what they.
Look at young Lucas in there. That smile on his face.
Yeah, why
I
are
know
you
that
smiling
game.
about that?
Yeah, if you buy
Lucas acts
anything,
like, hey, yeah, I didn't try that.
if you
that
want the
before.
D, they got to see the ID to get the D at the drugstore. Because one day I went into Walgreens. We live back in Arkansas, and there's some meth-related activity there. I'm not going to lie. I know what goes on in Northeast Arkansas. And so I go to Walgreens. I'm like, man, I'm so messed up. I can't find like the, Sudafed D or whatever I was looking for. And the pharmacist goes, well, it's because it's back here. And I was like, oh, why? And that guy looked at me like I was crazy. Like I said, oh, why is it? It's not on the shelf? He goes, we can't put that stuff out there. And I was like, I mean, it's just allergy medicine. What am I missing here? And the guy's like, and he like went and got the rest of the people. Like, this guy doesn't know what people do with the Sudafed D or whatever it is. I was like, well, I'm not here to do something illicit, man. I just can't breathe.
Everyone knows you only buy this if you're making meth.
So I have to
I didn't really
hand the
know
guy my
either.
ID, and then he like sells me. I mean, I have my teeth.
So is it 21 up? Or like, why,
21 and older. Yeah.
why does showing your ID? Because if you want to buy it for illicit purposes and you're over the required age, you could just show your ID and still use it for those purposes.
I think it's because they write down how many boxes this person with this ID bought.
Yes, and I confirmed that because they said, do you want 12-pack or 24? And I go,
64-pack, please.
I said, well, I want 24. I don't want to have to keep coming back. And they were looking at me like, you don't want to keep coming back? I was trying to be honest.
No, man.
And they were like, well, luckily we see you coming here all the time, but you're not
Do
buying
you
this
have a
D.
32-pack or 64?
No,
Because at that point,
there.
there'd be a policeman there to escort you out.
But I did one time say, because I've done this because my allergies are really bad, can I get 2 packs? And they looked at me and said, they start typing.
100% meth man, not hit man.
I was like, oh, man, did they just Google me? Make sure I'm matched up. I said, I have bad allergies. You see, my eyes are red right now, and I'm crying. All this gook around my eyes. And they said,
Zach
okay.
just put in the Zone TV chat, Blaine and Mickey giving you the D from 1 until 3.
That Mickey boy, he's a little stinker, boy. I tell you
now
what,
I'm getting
man.
all hot. My head hurts.
Yeah, no,
talking
'cause
about
you laughing at-
Sudafed and
No, and giving people the D.
from 1 to 3. Hey, blame Zach Bunch. He's the one saying this in his own TV chat.
You
All right,
are a hot
I got to
bastard.
figure out something to stop having headaches when the weather changes. I can't hate the fall because it's my favorite season. Every day, man, it feels like my head is just melting. So
Are there any home remedies? Like
that's
people-
what I'm looking
yeah.
for. Home
Yeah.
remedies.
Home remedies.
Like, snort some maple syrup or,
Oh, yeah.
bang my head into a tin pan or something or, put a hot rag on my throat. I don't know. Just
Some
whatever.
hot tea or something? I don't know.
I'd have some hot
man,
anything at this
I wish
point.
I could
Some
ask-
hot Sudafed D if that would
My
help.
grandmama used to have all those recipes for woo.
The meth man.
Oh my! Stop that.
Okay.
Man.
All right.
I don't know.
We're running out of time to
After
talk
dark.
sports.
It's after
Somebody's going to
dark.
tweet us and say, y'all talk sports.
No, they will.
Well, people want to help us, I think, and everybody's
We do.
been-
We need help. And Lucas is supposed to be our young, spur guy that's help us old guys out, man. And you just laugh at us.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I'm learning a lot today.
Scoop says CBD. Does that help with this stuff?
Oh, CBD. Some CBD. Oh man, that CBD, man. I've tried that, boy. It just make me go to sleep. Yeah. That's the CBD I get.
Well, I may need that too because I couldn't tell you the last time I slept through a night. This morning I woke up at 3:45 and my son was in bed with me singing.
This is good.
So I said, "What?
You sure
What?
you didn't have? You sure you didn't have some CBD before he woke
No,
up?
my wife was not in bed, and my son was. He had replaced her in the bed. She had gone downstairs. He was singing, and
What
I
was
said,
he singing?
I just singing to himself. He's
You don't know.
he's become a big fan of the 80s, early 90s hair metal band Slaughter. He was probably singing Up All Night because he likes that song.
I'm sure you have nothing to do with that.
So no, that's not me. So he's singing, and I just wake up and it's dark in there, kind of like semi-light because one of his night lights still shining in the room from down the hall. And I said, "Can you tell me what in the world you're doing in here?" And he's like, "Mom, go downstairs, and I'm staying in here." And I was like, "Okay, this still doesn't explain anything because I know Mom is mad downstairs. Why are you in here?" My legs hurt. He's been growing. He's having growing pains.
Oh,
So he's like, my legs hurt. So Mom went downstairs. Coco and me are in bed with you. So I look, there's the dog. So I got him and the dog in bed. So I'm like, stop singing now. It's 3:45. Stop singing. Of course, I'm my age, so I'm like, I may as well pee while I'm up. So I get up and I go to the bathroom. I come back as soon as I lay down, as soon as I get comfortable. The dog like stands up, stretches her legs, jumps off the bed.
I gotta go.
That means she has to pee. So at 4 a.m., I'm out there with the dog. So I turn around. My wife's standing right next to me. House is dark. Dog is outside. I feel this presence. It's my wife. It scared the noodles out of me. So I'm like,
The noodles?
I couldn't say the thing that it scared out of me, actually. And so my wife is like, why are you up right now? And I was like, because your son's up there singing in the bed. She's like, I'm the one sleeping on the couch. Do you want me to take care of the dog? I was like, no, I'll let the dog out. Why don't you go try to get some sleep on the couch, honey? And so she goes back to the couch. Dog pees, comes back in. I go back upstairs, almost get to sleep again. And my son just starts talking to me. I said, hey, man, shut it down. Shut it down.
Ooh, I see H-Town Mickey was coming out right there.
And literally on the way to work yesterday, I prayed for more patience. God, please give me more patience. Please, God, please make me more patient. I used to be the most patient person. God, please give me more patience. And then he's like, I'm going to test you. I'm going to put a 7-year-old in your bed and have him sing at 3:45. Here's your patience. Then the dog has to whiz at 7:50, 3:51 in the morning. And so I'm like, okay, you're testing me. I know. I'm going to hold it together. So I'm like, please stop talking and singing and playing with your stuffed animals. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to my bed. So he just gets up and goes to his own bed.
But then you're up.
It was just a disaster from there.
Yeah, you don't go back to sleep after
No.
that.
So I feel great, and I got a headache. But we're laughing, having a good time. People tell me to take CBD and eat local honey. So,
Ooh, local honey. Yeah.
well, I'm going to go home and drink some honey.
I've definitely tried that. It worked for a little while, but then after about, a handful of times, I'm like, yeah, that didn't work no more.
Man, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try
I was
everything.
impatient. If it didn't work one time, I ain't doing that again.
All right, well,
I'm going to go back to these drugs.
hit us up. Chip on Twitter says a neti pot. Y'all know what that is?
Oh, that's the thing.
Do you know, Lucas?
Oh, I've done that too, inside the nose.
It's like a little teapot looking thing, and you hook it into one side of your nose and pour, and the water comes out the other side.
I've definitely done that just because out of desperation, I felt horrible.
That sounds horrible.
And it worked. I couldn't get it to work at first. It did.
I don't want the water to flood my brain.
My brain is already flooded. So it's like, well, just get all the flooding out.
Did the water come out the other side?
It did.
Was it some snizzot and everything else in there?
No, it came right on through. I felt clearer, though. Congestion, that's what it kind of clears up. The congestion. I didn't believe it, but I did it. It worked. I can't believe I didn't just think of that.
Well, I've reached desperation status.
But
All right.
it just takes too much. I have to go buy another one every time I've used them and then I throw them away after so long. So I just go get the drugs, man.
I'm going to have to go get the D myself today. All right, let's get with Chelsa Messinger next. She'll tell you how to bet on some football coming up the rest of this week. We'll be right back, I hope. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. We love talking to Chelsa Messinger of the Daily Tip each and every Thursday. She takes some time to come on with us. Chelsa, we're all dealing with allergies. Are you dealing with allergies too? We're trying to solve some problems here.
I don't know if it's allergies, but my voice has been on the outs, which is not great when you host a 3-hour show in which you have to use your voice. So I got to figure something out. Hopefully I get some rest and recovery this weekend.
Well, I know you got a little person too. It's certainly hard to sleep around because they don't want mom to sleep. They want to play with mom, right? Little people, they got stuff to do. They can't let you sleep.
Oh, she's sick too.
Oh,
so
no.
It's even worse. So we didn't really get any sleep last night, but got plenty of football to talk about, and I am excited for that. I've got a nap on deck for me after this, so let's talk some football.
You got it,
Well,
Chelsea.
we'll keep it short then.
We will definitely keep it short. Chelsa Messinger, our friend, again, Daily Tip. We'll tell you all the places you can catch it afterwards. We always let her sign off with that. But let's start with Thursday night football, the Colts and the Broncos. What do you like with this game?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Broncos here at home. Let's talk about the setting in this one first. The Broncos 3-1 their last 4 Thursday night football games dating back to 2009. So that's not the same personnel, obviously, but that just goes to how hard it is to play on the road in Denver in the altitude on a short week. So because in all 4 of those games, the Broncos were getting points. They were underdogs in all 4 of those games and went 3-1 straight up. Also, think the Broncos are the better team right now. You guys saw the Colts last week against the Titans. They can't get out of their own way. It's been a problem with turnovers. Matt Ryan, 8 turnovers in 4 games this season, and he's going against a really good secondary tonight. The Colts are missing Jonathan Taylor, which obviously is a huge part of their offense, but even with him, their run game hasn't been great. It's put more of the pressure on Matt Ryan in the passing game. And this Broncos secondary gives up just 5.3 yards per attempt and has only allowed 3 passing touchdowns all season long. So I think this is more of a fade of the Colts for me, but also I do think the Broncos improved. We saw a little improvement last week, even in a loss against the Raiders. So I'll lean on the Broncos here at -3 at home.
Like the under in this one too, do you?
Yeah, primetime unders have been especially profitable. 9-4 this season. Primetime unders. That means the night games. The unders have been the play. And plus, these 2 teams, 2 of the hottest under teams in all of football. The Colts have hit the under in 9 straight games, dating back to last season. And then the Broncos are 1-3 over-under record this season. So 3 of the 4 games hitting the under. Like I said, I think both offenses kind of struggle. On the Broncos side of the ball, Javonte Williams out for the Broncos, so it's going to be Melvin Gordon, who's had turnover problems as well. 4 fumbles in 4 games. So I think both these offenses kind of have some trouble getting going. So I'll take the under 42 as well.
Boy, Colts football underscoring fever. Catch it. Chelsa Messinger, our guest host of the Daily Tip. She's at Chelsa Messinger on Twitter. You can follow her there.
Well, Chelsa, Dallas, man, they are hot with my man named Rush. So do you think they cover versus the Rams with my man, the Rush?
Yeah, no rush to get Dak Prescott back because Cooper Rush has been pretty solid. I do think at some point we see him fall back to earth, but I think the team around him is better. And the key matchup against the Rams is the offensive line of the Rams has not looked good this year. We saw Matt Stafford under pressure the entire game against the Niners, and granted the Niners have a good defense, but so do the Cowboys. Cowboys are excellent at getting after the quarterback. We saw it especially in that Commanders game. They were excellent at getting some pressure on Carson Wentz. Micah Parsons, one of the best defenders in the entire NFL. So getting 5.5 points against a Rams team that doesn't really have a home field advantage anyway, yeah, I'll take the Cowboys plus 5.5.
Well, let's stay in the NFC East there. The Eagles, will they stay flying high against the Arizona Cardinals?
This line is a little tricky because I feel like it should be at 6 or 6.5, but the odds makers put it at 5.5, which makes me a little nervous because the problem with the Eagles is sometimes they let their foot off the gas pedal. So I think I'll take the Eagles in the first half. I think it's -3 or -3.5 in the first half. Well, we've seen them. They get off to really hot starts. I think they've covered the spread in every single game in the first half. So I think that's a safer play.
I saw the Steelers against, I think they were against them to lose by 14. Is that right?
Oh, yes. This
Have you
is
ever
the
seen a
biggest-
big one like that one?
Yeah, especially with a team like the Bills. I think when you're talking
the Bills,
about
yeah.
a team that can pile up the points, that's when it's a little tricky. But in no world am I laying 14 points in an NFL game. No, I'm not doing it. I feel like if you really think it's going to be a blowout, just take the under 46.5. If you think the Steelers offense has trouble getting going, I would rather rely on the under as opposed to this Bills team that, number one, has had trouble in the red zone, and number two, has a ton of injuries. And plus, we've seen them lose to bad teams before. Last year, didn't they lose to, like, the Jets or the Jags or somebody like that? So we see this kind of chaos in the NFL all the time. Will not be sweating a 14-point spread. I would rather be on an under.
Well, naturally, we got to ask you, Titans Commanders. Will the Titans go handle some business here, or will they make us never nervous, pervers here?
Well, this line is shortened.
What?
It's the craziest thing because it was 2.5.
Yeah.
It's down to 1.5, which means there's some money coming in on the Commanders. Maybe people are thinking that Carson Wentz takes advantage of the secondary that gave up, 350 yards to Matt Ryan despite winning that game. But here's the thing. Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz both look pretty bad under pressure. So we saw what this Titans defensive line could do last week, really generating some chaos. Danico Autry was huge in that game. So I personally would still lean the Titans. But remember that little factoid that I said the first of the year. The Titans are usually a better bet when they are getting points as opposed to favorites. But this spread's really small. So it's not like they're laying 6 points. That's when I get really nervous to take the Titans when you need them to win by like a touchdown as opposed to a field goal. So I still lean the Titans here. I would rather trust the Titans than, Carson Wentz and the Commanders.
Oh, man. Chelsa Messinger from the Daily Tip. I'm learning so much here. I guess, lastly, real quick, what game should we stay away from?
Well, that's no fun. I think
Well, I'm just trying
to be smart here.
I'm learning as I go.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the other game that has a pretty big spread this weekend, the Bucs at home laying 9.5 against the Falcons. Falcons have been one of the best cover teams in football, and we know there's some issues with Tom Brady off the field. Honestly, I don't think it really affects him. I think it's more the offensive line and how they haven't really been protecting him quite as well this season. He does have his weapons back, but 9.5 in a divisional game seems like a lot. So I won't be touching that one. The games that I do like, Dolphins laying 3 against the Jets. Teddy covers, Teddy Bridgewater, 24-6 against the spread as a starting quarterback on the road. Really like the Dolphins in that spot, and really don't really want to back the Jets either. So that's one I do like and one I don't like.
There you go, Chelsa Messinger. Telling us what's going on. All right, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask Tennessee at LSU. And I'll just ask you this, because you're looking at things from an analytical side. A lot of people, Chelsea, say, oh, well, this is not at 7 o'clock at night. This is at 11 o'clock in the morning. That's really going to help Tennessee. Be honest with us. Does anybody who is setting lines or looking at any of that look at when the game is actually played? Does that matter?
Good question.
Yeah, it does, especially when you're talking about Death Valley. Isn't that the toughest place to play at night as opposed to when it's a morning kick? I think that, I don't know, especially when we see some of these games that could be traps, maybe the morning is a tougher time to play because we've seen it with Alabama going on the road to Texas, and, that was kind of a close game for the Crimson Tide. But still, I think it's a matter of the offense. If Tennessee's offense is clicking on all cylinders like it normally does, I don't think LSU hangs with them because their quarterback play is not nearly on the level of Hendon Hooker, and I think that the Vols cover that short number. It is a very short number. I think it's 2.5 or 3. So Tennessee, don't let me down. I think that's a sabotage factor that's what Tennessee teams do sometimes. So we shall see.
All right, you had sent us one more game that you said you liked something about UNC at Miami, right?
Yeah, speaking of overhyped teams, Miami, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know if they're living on brand alone, but I haven't seen anything from this Miami team that makes me think they should be favored against one of the more dynamic offenses in football. UNC quarterback Drake May leads the nation in touchdowns, 19 touchdowns, 1 interception. We all know that UNC can pile up the points. The problem is they usually can't stop anybody. But I think if they can put up 50 points, it's not going to matter. So I think I would take the points with UNC. Honestly, would not be surprised if UNC beats Miami outright.
Well, one more before we let you go, and that is the feud between Fisher and Saban, A&M, Bama, without probably Bryce Young. So does that matter in this case?
Well, Alabama is one of those teams that doesn't, lose guys. They just reload. It doesn't seem to matter, even though Bryce Young obviously looks like a Heisman contender in every single game with some of the plays that he makes. But when you're covering a big number, and I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it is over 2 touchdowns for Alabama to cover, if anybody is going to keep their foot on the gas pedal, it's going to be Nick Saban. There is no love lost. He will be yelling at players. I remember covering Alabama's national championship game when they played Notre Dame, and it was a blowout. And Nick Saban was screaming at players on the sideline. I'm like, what's this guy doing? Why is he mad? They're up by like 30. So if anybody is going to try to put their foot on the gas pedal, probably Nick Saban. We also have another huge spread in the Auburn-Georgia game. I cannot believe that Auburn is getting 29.5 points against Georgia. What a long way Auburn has fallen. It seems like a huge line. I would probably be on Auburn, but Auburn has looked very bad this year.
Yeah. All right, Chelsa Messinger, on the way out, tell people where they can find the Daily Tip and consume it either live or at the time that they choose to later on in the day.
Yeah, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Daily Tip, and it should be the first thing that pops up. You can also follow me on Twitter at Chelsa Messinger. And as always, thanks for having me on.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate it. Go feel better, okay?
Thanks.
All right, take care of that baby. All right, Chelsa said, hey, I'm going to power through this. And she sent us some great bets. So, again, get well soon.
Appreciate that. Yeah, no
absolutely. She's a gamer, man. She's a college athlete right there. She's just going to fight through it. So, because we're kind of talking about the Titans, and she's talking about this. Jael, in the Zone TV chat, it said, I don't know if you guys have seen this. Titans TV ratings have dropped some this year. I think Braden Gall was the guy who had tweeted out all that information earlier. So Titans fans may be a little down, the lack of second half scoring. The team hasn't always, they're not always that much fun to watch. Now, when Derrick Henry's going, I think that's fun to watch. But
you got to tune in just in case he may break one.
And he's starting to chip away at it again. So, and the offensive line's starting to gel. There's 3 new starters and only 5 people play on the O-line. It's funny though. So Titans kind of fans have their perception of things. You talk to radio in Washington today, and they're like, oh, y'all are going to kill us. Like, they're super down on the command skins, right?
Oh, yeah. Brian Mitchell and crew there, man, they just think their O-line is horrible. Carson Wentz is horrible. I think he's 8 TDs, 5 interceptions. He's thrown, over 40 times a game. I said, well, that's a recipe for disaster right there. He's like Tannehill. He can't be throwing over 30 times a game. If not, that you're behind and you're chasing. He's going to make a lot of mistakes. So, yeah, their O-line, they have health issues all over the place. So they just think our D-line is just going to destroy them and that we're going to blow them out. And I beg to differ. I said, hopefully you see the right Titans team that shows up. And, you never know where health is with individuals that can play. But, some guys are playing and fighting through injuries. Nobody talks about that. And then can they bring their best? Can they bring their A game? Everything in the National Football League, to me, is proven. You must do it, and you got to go out and do it week in and week out. And it's survival mode, so you just never know. Guess what? The Commanders may have their best day ever. I hope they don't.
Right.
But you don't know if everybody comes together all of a sudden, and that's how it happens in this league. That's how the worst team in the league can beat the best team in the league every week because it's the best of the best, and you don't know. If you give them opportunities, turn the ball over, momentum swings in the game. Things can happen. So I said the Titans should win this game, but I would never say that they, that the Commanders couldn't win the game. They have weapons too. What if they get hot? I mean, they were Debbie Downer all over the place there. I mean, even with Ron Rivera, I mean, they were just like, hey man, it's tough sledding here, man. He's now reaching and probably making tough decisions that he shouldn't make that because the team is not performing well. I like that. Well, they kind of been in most games, right? He's like, kind of, but not really. Like second half, it's just like, I was like, wow.
Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry.
Oh, I talked about him.
That dude?
They already knew that we went to the same high school. I was like,
what if they just decide to go, okay, here's what we're going to do, Wentz. Just get rid of the ball. Just bang, 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 3 steps, get rid of it. Terry McLaurin. Getting quick passes in the open field. You don't think that could be a problem on a Sunday afternoon? I do.
Well, here's what I told them. They asked me what would be the plan. I said their plan is always going to be the same on offense. They're going to try to run the football.
Right. There's no mystery.
And in the last 2 weeks, they've contained superstars.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, so I would be doubling McLaren and make sure I shut down the run game because, Rivera, that's part of his stable. He wants to be able to run the football. And I know the line issues have kind of changed that. I said, we got to make sure they can run the football and be effective. And then I would double McLaren and make the other guys beat us. With Dotson out from Penn State.
That's big. He leads them in touchdown catches.
So I would
4 touchdowns.
That's kind of how I would approach this game.
And they got like Gibson. And honestly, I know I'm always looking for a reason to mention Arkansas State. They have J.D. McKissick, who's a really good from Arkansas State. He's a real good dual threat guy. Catches the ball great.
They have a handful of good running back. And then the other running back, Robinson from Alabama, may be available that got shot.
Gosh,
right before, right during training camp or right before training camp.
That's an unbelievable story. The guy got shot, and the bullet went in and out of his knee. They didn't hit
nothing.
No ligaments, that's the craziest story, one of the craziest stories that I've ever heard. So he's an amazing story, but they just got they have a bunch of solid guys. McLaurin,
they got a whole bunch of first-round picks on the defensive line. Well, one's out, young, but
it doesn't even matter. They're still everybody else a first-round pick.
Yeah, or second, because I remember Sweat when he came out from Mississippi State, right?
So you're going to have your handful trying to block those guys with Derrick Henry, for Derrick Henry. So, what does that look? Because it's funny when you're talking to them. When we talk about other teams, it's like, okay, got to stop this guy and the run. You got to stop this guy and this guy, or you've done a great job. I saw somebody the other day, and they said, man, I feel like I know what's going to happen or what should happen because I listen to you and Blaine, because Blaine always tells me every week, you've done a fantastic job this week of saying, okay, on this team, here's the guy or the two guys I'm going to try to stop. If everybody else beats me, then we were supposed to lose today.
Yeah.
That's
how we approached it.
Isn't it crazy with the Titans? All you have to do is say,
Top King.
That's it. One guy.
Yeah.
One guy.
And it's hard to do. And he's getting the ball. And with a growing offensive line with 3 new pieces. And 2 of them were unexpected.
And every play, the guy that you have to stop starts every play 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Watch this. 8 eyeballs are on him every single play. Only the corners are not looking at him. The rest of the defense is looking at him. Everybody. Safeties, linebackers, 2 people. So 9 guys. But now, if you got 3 wides. I think the Titans don't even run. They run the least amount of 3 wides than anybody in the NFL. If I would make a bet, I bet they do because they run more 2 tight end sets than 3 wides.
And they run a lot of those really compact sets where the 2 guys, where the 2 outside guys are still inside. Yeah. It's still inside.
And that works to their advantage because guess what? Their play action works really good because they're going to scoop out the safety.
Yep.
Guy can act like he's going to scoop and now he's running a route. That's why they are line up in those tight splits because then you give no keys to anything. And then everything looks the same. And then that's where the play action pass comes in. And if you don't have your eyes in the right spot, safeties, all of a sudden you sucked up in there. We got you. That's what they're waiting on because people get impatient. Especially don't let him embarrass you. Then he's like, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. Yep. And then you get got over the top.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's, again, we talk about other teams, and you're like, well, this guy and the run game, or these 2 guys, or this guy and this tight end. And everybody's sitting in every other town's like, well, they're playing the Titans this week. It's one guy. It's one guy. It's one
Dude,
guy.
That is the worst feeling ever. You're sitting in the meeting room and say, hey, and the coaches go, we just got to stop the run. But this guy's different. That's how the meeting goes.
Yeah.
And you go, uh-oh. And you're talking about a lot of elite level players sitting there now, the best of the best. But now he on another plane. You say, you better bring it, or this guy will embarrass you. And everybody's getting up to play him. And he's still being very productive. I feel like a breakout is about to happen. The offensive line is starting to get a little mojo. I feel it. I feel it coming. So I hope it does happen in this game because I think they need it. They need some big plays because where are you getting the big playability out of the receivers? We were just talking in there. NWI didn't even have a target last week. He started. I'm like, man, that's tough sled. And you win and everything else, but not a target. Then Phillips plays 2 plays, and he gets a target.
Yeah.
So that shows you there's no, and I know NWI and Tannehill on the same page. Just maybe wasn't any opportunities, or they was a little too close to him, and Tannehill or got pressure, couldn't get it to him.
That's the Titans' number 2 receiver, Blaine. I mean,
Yeah,
Woods has got to be number 1, so he's number 2. He got no targets.
Watch this. Me, you, and Lucas could have been out on that field and got no targets.
We definitely could have gotten no targets.
I may have not got off the line, but that's why I didn't get no targets. But, I mean, that is hard to do.
It's not hard to do this. Phone lines have just started ringing off the hook. People want to talk about Washington and Derrick Henry and all sorts of stuff. We will come back with that next. Also, I got a cool Derrick Henry stat. He just continues to do things in this franchise. Got a cool number for you next. You will want to hear this. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Lucas, you're charming me with this Journey music now. This might be
This was my favorite Journey song growing up.
Stone in Love is my favorite Journey song just because that's really cool bass and guitar interplay in the end of the song. And as being a bass player, just get a moment in the spotlight, I thought was pretty cool there for old Ross Valerie, the bass player. But this is number 2 for me. It's like a strong 2. Wheel in the Sky. Fantastic song, Lucas.
This one and Lights.
Oh, Lights is just incredible. I mean, that's an incredible song.
Those are my favorites growing up.
Lights, camera, action.
It is not that, but it is a song called Lights. All right, our phones mysteriously drained themselves of all callers during that break. So if you were online, you can call back. Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, 615-737-1045. We were going to take the call, so call back if you want to. This is the Titans do this big stat dump every Thursday, every Wednesday night. And so, and it's like supplemental notes. Well, you know me. Oh, you printed it. You know me. I absolutely just geek out on anything like this. So Derrick Henry continues to, and literally, I'm starting with this because we ended with this in the previous segment, that number 22 is the one guy you plan for when you play the Titans. You literally don't game plan for any of those wide receivers, and you're not game playing it. Chig Okonkwo is supposed to join us to start the second hour. I think at some point Chig's one of those guys people are going to have to account for him. Hasn't gotten a whole lot of targets yet. I think he's got a chance to be a great threat in the red zone. He scored from the 8-yard line against the Colts and going to practice every day in the preseason and watching how they used him in the red zone. So I think he's got a chance to be a fabulous addition. But right now, when you play the Titans, it's one guy, 22. That's who you got playing for. Well, despite the fact that everybody every week is showing up to tackle him, this dude is now 5th place in franchise history in scrimmage yards. That means running and receiving total. He's the 5th player to reach 8,000 scrimmage yards in their career. So he's at 8,040. Okay, in front of him is a guy that you know well, Ernest Givens, who you got to play with, a year? Mm-hmm. And then he was part of that when Bud said, if y'all don't win the Super Bowl, everybody's gone. Well, I guess he was one of that got gone.
He was a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Run and shoot.
He has 8,280. So King a nice afternoon from the King could pass him into 4th place this week. Earl Campbell is 9,292. So that's 1,200 and change yards. So a nice rest of the season could literally – now, Earl Campbell, they weren't throwing him a lot of passes. A lot of his yardage, certainly came courtesy of his feet and his giant thigh pads. But it's not unquestionable that Derrick Henry could easily find himself in 3rd place in scrimmage yards, and that would only be behind the great Eddie George, who has over 12,000, and Chris Johnson, who has just under 10,000. In his time with the Titans. And to put that in context, it's like, okay, 8,000 scrimmage yards. They added this little fact. Since Derrick Henry entered as a second-round pick in 2016, he's one of only 2 NFL players with at least 8,000 yards from scrimmage. It's only him and Ezekiel Elliott. That's it. Only him and Ezekiel Elliott. Now, Zeke Elliott has been used a lot more in the pass game, and that's because he's got 500 more rush yards than Derrick Henry in that time. But to Ezekiel Elliott's credit, when he came in, he was their number 1, and it took Derrick Henry really about 3 years to become the unquestioned number 1 back on this team into his 3rd season. Not his first year, not his second year. But Zeke Elliott has like 1,800 more yards than Derrick Henry. But that's it. That's the only 2 people with 8,000 scrimmage yards since 2016 who came in the league.
Derrick Henry still has more TDs than him, 71 over 69.
He sure does. And Zeke Elliott has 12 receiving touchdowns to Derrick Henry's 3. So, the air yardage thing for Zeke Elliott has been a bigger deal for him since he came in the league. But Derrick Henry and Zeke Elliott, that's it. Guys who came in 2016. But a nice start to his career. And
really good. But you mentioned offense. We got to talk about defense. What about my man? We have not discussed this. Oh, Mr. Weaver. 4 sacks.
He's on pace for 17.
Oh, I know you love that. But, for a first, second-year player, I think that's pretty nice. I think only Derek Morgan, most sacks by a Titan player in team's first 4 games in the season since 2013 up till 2022, of course. So he's up there, and then Derek Morgan was 4.5 that year in the first 4 games. So we still don't see, and Archery's in 5th, tied with a bunch of people with 3.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool.
I'm out walking this morning, and I started thinking about that because I was just, again, you know me, I love to geek out over stats. And I look at that, and I was like,
he's also tied with Rakpo with 4.
yeah, he's got 4 sacks in 4 games. Now, think about it.
In limited time. Like, he's not like playing every down.
He's not like Harold Landry. He replays every down.
Mm-hmm.
They're finding ways to get him off the field for a minute to rest him up, which really makes what Harold Landry does even more remarkable because he never leaves the field. God bless him. But they have 13 games left, Blaine. If he can get 6 sacks in 13 more games, then Rashad Weaver is a 10-sack guy in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets people paid.
Yeah, guess what he's thinking? The exact same thing.
Yeah.
Ooh, man. Well, maybe I should slow this down because I got 2 more years till I get a free agent.
He does. He's got the 4-year deal, year 2.
Right.
This is his first full year of playing. You know, he's hurt last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that dude's thinking like, hey, man, I mean, I could maybe fall into 3 or 4 more, you know, then find my way to 3 or 4 more than that. I'm a 10-sack guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, boy, 10-sack guys make a lot. 10-sack guys can name their price now in the NFL. 10 sacks.
Yeah, and his style is a little different. He's not the motorcycle lean type guy. He's
Nope.
a speed to power guy.
Length.
You know, with his length. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with that. So there's different ways you can skin a cat here as a pass rusher, and he's been effective. Those don't just happen all of a sudden. And you can say, he fell into a couple, forced out there to him and what have you, but he still got him.
Yeah.
Go down the same. Don't nobody go back and check how you got him. No.
All right. Chig Okonkwo, right, Lucas, set to join us to start the next hour. So we should have the Titans tight end coming off the field from practice. Looking forward to that. Also, hoping to have a guest to talk some LSU, a guy who played for LSU and in the NFL. Hoping to get Jacob Hester in the second hour. Boy, what a great college football player and had a nice pro career, too. Both of those guys set to join us in a jam-packed hour number 2 on Blaine and Mickey.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Chig Okonkwo should be checking in with us soon. The Titans have been on the practice field today, and looking forward to hearing from the first-year player from Maryland who should be joining us here. So.
Getting chiggy-wiggy.
I'm looking forward to getting Chiggy with it. Hey, man, we've been big fans of this guy since the time that he got here, and just physically he's imposing as all get out. But fun to watch him play, and it's been fun to watch him get acclimated to the NFL and got his first touchdown last week. I know his quarterback kind of busted his butt a little bit about his TD celebration.
Yeah,
I think he threw the ball down too, and Tannehill had to go get
That was
it.
not chiggy-wiggy. It wasn't chiggy-wiggy.
was-
I wonder where he keeps the ball. So he kept it then, I'm assuming, since somebody got it for him.
You know what? I'll say I kind of like this though, because that tells me that like he wasn't prepared to do something all crazy. He just like, hey man, I'm here. It's my job. I'm supposed to score touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to do something crazy.
What was interesting, I hadn't seen this before, was I was watching some of his highlight reels from college.
Yeah.
And I saw a play on there that looked very familiar to the Titans. And it was kind of interesting. The fourth down call? Third down call?
Third down call.
He ran the exact same play. I think he ran it for 60 yards for a touchdown at Maryland. Speed sweep with him in motion as a tight end. So that looked pretty impressive. I said, so he fits perfectly with the Titans offense because that's how they're using him.
Well, let's talk to him right now. The great Chig Okonkwo, Titans tight end, joins us at Chig Tweets on Twitter. You can easily remember that. Titans tight end. Chig, how in the world are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing awesome, man. I can't complain.
Well, last time you were on with us, I don't know if you remember this, I asked the hard-hitting, journalism questions. I asked, where do you buy pants?
Yep.
and man, you said, let me tell you something. So have you found a fantastic pants outlet in Nashville to fit you?
One other funny thing, I haven't bought a pair of pants since the day we spoke.
Are you kidding me? Man, you're going to be running low on pants.
No, he just wears loose sweats.
Yeah, it's
Shorts.
sweatpants, man. But I need to get some pants for the for the travel. Though I need to get some for travel for
Hey,
sure.
winter's coming, Chig. You got to cover those thighs, man. They need to be kept warm in the winter.
Oh, yeah, those big old thunder thighs and calves, bro. Them calves, I saw you in training camp. I was like, ooh, he got some power in there, man. There's a lot of power. Hey, if this was college, you wouldn't even, could you travel? Did y'all wear suits, pants, or what did y'all wear? Yeah, sweats.
Sweatsuits.
Oh yeah, Locke made us wear. He made us wear suits. We got to wear suits every game.
Yeah, if not, then you can't go.
You had to wear the athletic cut suit, right? Yeah, I mean, nothing off the
I
rack.
had the tapered suit, tapered pants. Fit perfectly. It looked nice.
I like that, man.
we got this,
Now, what maybe didn't look nice, and you got busted by your quarterback. Do we have this audio, Lucas? Your quarterback threw you under the bus with your touchdown celebration. This is what he said.
Well, it's exciting, to see him get in the end zone, just the energy. Obviously, he's brought a lot to the table for us, and is a talented player. So to see him get in the end zone for the first time, I thought his celebration was a little suspect. Expecting more from him. But it was good. I saw him toss the ball, and I'm like, all right, I got to track down that ball for him. I was able to snag it for him. But yeah, happy for Chig. Obviously, made a big play for us there in the red zone, and a couple plays throughout that game.
Now, your quarterback threw you under the bus. What's your response to that guy?
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
It's funny because he said it because he knew what celebration I was supposed to do, and then I didn't end up doing it when I said I was going to do it. So he was like, "Yeah, that was weak." But he ended up tracking the ball down for me, so I appreciate that.
Oh, you teased us. What was the celebration supposed
what
to
did
be?
we miss out on here?
I'm gonna bring it out at home, man. Bring it out of the first home game touchdown, man.
Oh, okay. Not when you and it versus the Commanders. That'd be close to your college home.
Close to college home, yeah, that is true. No, I want to save it for the home fans.
Well, there you go. There you go. Chig Okonkwo. Maybe will it be something related to the anime that you love? You're a big anime guy, right?
Man, I was thinking that too, man. But I got my own signature thing, but that anime thing too would be cool. I do want to definitely hit an anime celebration eventually, for sure.
You just got to start scoring a lot of touchdowns. That'll solve all your problems. Chig Okonkwo, our guest Titans tight end at Chig Tweets on Twitter.
Well, I must have missed the first conversation. I must have been off that day. But Chig, man, who was your bbig time tight end when you were coming out or growing up, or at any point in time you kind of like, I like his game. It doesn't have to be someone like your game, but just a tight end you kind of looked up to. Did you play tight end the whole time too? Did you play defense too as well growing up?
Well, honestly, growing up, I wasn't really tight end. I was more because we had like a spread offense my whole entire life growing up.
Okay.
When I went to school, so I was kind of like a receiver. I was a Y always, but it was really like a receiver, really. And around like senior year, that's the time I really started realizing like I'm gonna be a tight end for the rest of my life. So I need to start, looking at these guys. The guy that I really watch a lot, obviously, Tony Gonzalez, just because he's the the pinnacle of tight end.
Oh yeah, I've guarded him a couple times.
Yep. Yeah, man. He's a great player. He knows how to get open and understands how to get in the zone. So, growing up, definitely him. And he was with Atlanta for a while.
Well, being that you were kind of a spread like a wide receiver, what routes? I mean, that probably helped you in the passing game as well. So, what's some of your favorite routes that you like to run, at least at that time and still today, because it probably carries over a little bit?
Man, my favorite route back then was a corner.
Ooh.
Corner route. That was my route, man.
Good
old corner route. Set him up, high ball, catch it over shoulder.
Oh, and then you just dominate us little DBs, man. That's not cool, man. So since you've been in the league, let's start into the league now. What have you improved on the most to this point?
I'd probably say mentally, honestly. Yeah, I'd probably say mentally, just getting that football IQ up. NFL is different, different game than college, so you also got to work on your football intelligence. But just mentally getting right, man, just being able to have a clear head when I'm on the field. A lot of times when I first got here, I was thinking so much that, I would have such a simple job, but I was thinking so much about it, all, the different things I could possibly get, and that kind of slowed me down. But now it's I feel a lot better now. My head feels clear when I'm on the field, and when I know my job, I know my assignment, I can just go out there and execute it now.
Well, we had another great tight end that was in my era from Maryland as well. I don't know if you know much about Mr. Frank Wycheck, Music City Miracle guy, I guess you want to call it that.
I saw his name every day in our in our tight end room for the all-time great. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
he's up there. Him, Vernon Davis, and I forgot the other one.
Oh, well, that's two elite ones right there, man. Hey, I was watching some highlights of you, and I saw you on the same play that you ran with the Titans. Do you know what that play is? A play that you ran with the Titans, a running play.
Oh, you're talking about the sweep?
Yes. Yes, I think you took it for
that was actually my first touchdown.
Oh, that was your first touchdown in Maryland?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Man, were you assuming that you were going to score on that play with the Titans?
No, literally. I was like, if you scheme something up, how they show it on film all week, you hope they're going to do that, they end up doing something else. But in my mind, it was if I get the ball, man, I'm circling this, I'm going to get a touchdown. I'm going.
Has there been any surprise? I know you said you're working on the mental side and you got that all squared away. But with me, it was always about, the speed of the game and getting adjusted at, about 2 or 3 games in, at least for me. But is there anything else that kind of surprised you once you got in the league? It doesn't even have to be that. It could be just, oh, man, this guy was bigger or stronger, or, man, this league hits harder, or whatever it may be. What is your view on that?
I would say when I first entered the league, the thing I realized was guys are really confident in their technique. They don't really abandon technique. That was one of the main things, especially when I first started going against KB. I started realizing, I'm like, man, these moves are not working on him. Because he's just not gonna abandon his technique. He knows where his help is. He knows where I'm trying to go. He knows the down and distance. So he knows exactly what he needs to do. And it's a lot of guys, they know what they need to do, but they don't trust it, so they panic, and then the technique, they don't do the technique, and they miss. But a lot of the guys in the league here, our best players, they don't abandon their technique.
Well, with Tennessee Titans tight end Chig Okonkwo.
Chig, blame was Mr. Technique. You're making him smile really big here.
Yeah. I had to learn it, though, by the way. Because you play off your ability, as he kind of mentioned.
Sure.
And then now everybody's as good as you, so you now must play to your form of technique. Mm-hmm.
So what's it been like for you to have literally a same guy, same class from Maryland talking about Sam Okwonu, and he gets called up this week? What a cool moment, man. The Terps are just taking over the Titans.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. I'm very excited for him. I know how hard he's been working. I know how much he's wanted it. and I know that he earned it too. So I'm very excited for him to get that opportunity to finally get out here and finally get in the game.
All right, let me ask you this because it's been a huge topic of conversation. You guys in the first half are just unstoppable offensively. Things seem to trail off in the second half. Is this something you guys are talking about as a unit? Are you talking about in the tight end room? Is it a big topic of conversation, or is it just let's just keep doing what we're doing and we'll get it fixed?
Yeah, man. I mean, we know we can get it fixed. We know there's nothing about first half, second half. It's all about execution. We watch film and we see the things that we didn't execute in the second half, and we know that we can do it. So for us, it's just about coming out in the second half, focus, execute, and make sure that we can keep scoring points throughout the game. But I mean, shoot, as long as we have more points than them at the end of the game, we win. So.
Well, and that's what's happened the last couple of weeks for sure. Chig Okonkwo, our guest, at Chig Tweets on Twitter, Titans tight end.
Chig, when you had the draft, did you expect to go in the middle rounds? What were your expectations going into the draft once you went through the process early on and started training? Where did you think you were going to go? What round?
Yeah, after the process, I knew I was going to go around third or fourth. That's what my agents were telling me, so I had a good idea of where I was going to end up.
Oh, man. So then now let's talk about your skill sets. Like, tell us how this offense kind of leads to all your skill sets that you can bring and showcase in the NFL.
Yeah, man, we are a run-heavy team, so being a tight end in that offense, you're going to have a lot of opportunities, especially in play action with backers, coming up to fill the run, and then you getting right behind them. For me, it's about speed. Speed's my game, so getting those mismatches on, linebackers, some safeties, being bigger than DBs, those type of things, and getting in the red zone. It's having the ball in my hand. I feel like when I have the ball in my hand, I feel like I can make plays and break tackles, so that's one of my main skill sets, I feel like.
So when you're studying your opponent and you're going to have a matchup, just give me an example of a past game that you've already had and what you thought your matchup would be, and then it kind of changed within the game as far as how you thought the matchup should go, adjusting on the fly as a player with you individually.
Are you saying, like, I had a matchup and then in the game it changed up and I had to adjust to it?
Yes, let's say you thought, I was going to be guarded by this 5'11", guy, and then all of a sudden I was going to be able to run these routes, and all of a sudden they didn't work, so then you made some adjustments, maybe got more physical with them and pushed or whatever you had to do, on a blocking scheme or whatever, just any matchup that you thought, oh, man, this is not going to work. I'm going to have to do something a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, obviously we build our player profiles going into the game, so I have a good idea of what the guys like to do, because the guy, they pick certain play styles. Not everybody, he can be a jump around guy and a heavy hitter. Some guy might, want to use hands. Some guys might want to shadow with feet. So just figuring out, what type of player that guy is, and then coming out Sunday, if I know it's a guy who uses his hands, I need to get my hands ready to get his hands off me. And if he comes out playing something differently, then it's just adjusting to that play style of that player. If somebody else comes and guards me, I have a player profile built on them too, so it won't be something that's like, oh God, who is this? It's like I'll still know who it is.
Yeah. I always keep notes on not only just players, but defensive schemes and systems, because they follow the coaches. I guess lastly for me, I know that's kind of going back in time. When you were coming out and getting recruited, what were, your final choices of schools and universities you were thinking about going to?
I narrowed down my last two choices to Georgia Tech and Maryland. I was either going to stay home or get out of there. Chose to get out of there.
Oh, I mean, what was behind that decision? Like, other kids are listening or want to listen and figure out, like, how they should be looking at how they make their decision. Every situation's their own situation, but how did you look at it?
I mean, I could give you the long answer and be like, yeah, man, I wanted to get away. I mean, at the end of the day,
real answer.
At the end of the day, I wasn't running triple option, so
yeah,
that's what it was.
Yeah, you're gonna be blocking, right?
Yeah, only
blocking.
Megatron survived that, Chig.
Yeah, that's right. You would have been you would have been Megatron, man. What are you talking about, Chig?
I swear they was throwing it back then. They was throwing it to him back then.
They were. There you have it.
Chig, we know you're busy, man, getting ready to basically go play a home game to your college, basically, against Washington. Listen, we wish you the best, and it's always fun catching up with you. And if you need, some help finding a good pants outlet, hit up my man Blaine. He's a former Titan. He knows where all the guys go.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Chig.
it, Chig,
Fun
man.
talking to you.
Take care.
At Chig tweets, Titans tight end, first touchdown last week. Maybe he gets another one this week. That would be awesome if he did. All right, when we come back, we're supposed to have a guest, Jacob Hester, former fullback, running back. That guy could tackle people.
LSU.
He did it all at LSU, including win the national championship. And we'll talk to him about what's going on with LSU and Tennessee on Saturday next. Should be fun. You don't want to miss it. Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Let's roll into this. We've never had Jacob Hester on the show before, I don't think. But, man, I've watched him play football, and a bunch of you have too. It is very, very cool.
I didn't have to run into him.
Yeah, me too. Jacob Hester, at Jacob Hester 18 on Twitter. Jacob, you do so many things. It's hard to list all the things you do now. Sirius XM, ESPN Radio. Very cool to have you on the show.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, I'm glad to be on the show. I appreciate it. Glad we can make it work.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on first and foremost because I know your son was sick, so I really appreciate you taking out the time to come on the Blaine and Mickey show with Lucas taking care of us, man. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You bet.
Well, I hope the little dude's doing better for sure. Let's start with this because I know we're going to talk about LSU and Tennessee, but I told somebody, I said, Blaine's trying to get Jacob Hester on. It's a Tennessee fan. He's like, man, let me tell you something. I want to hate that guy for 2007. But he said, I can't hate him because he seems like such a nice dude. But just know this, people here still want to hate you, but I don't think they can because you've got this reputation as the nicest dude. But what are your memories of December 1st, 2007?
Yeah, so it was a wild time because we had just lost to Arkansas in triple overtime the week before. And, it kind of felt like we had lost our opportunity to win a national championship. But still, like, we had the opportunity to win an SEC championship. And y'all know this, living in SEC country, if you can't win a national championship, that's a step right below it. I mean, you have to be prideful going out there and winning the SEC. And so I was really proud of our team, the way we didn't lose focus, because it would have been very easy to go into that game going against a veteran Tennessee team with EA there at quarterback. But we found a way to kind of, refocus ourselves and remember, like, we thought we were losing Coach Miles to Michigan during that week as well, because, Herbie came out and there was a report and he had his press conference where he's like, have a great day. And we're like, wait a minute, is he our coach? Is he not going to be our coach? And so that was a little bit wild as well, but we knew we had a ball game to play again against a good Tennessee team. And we wanted to go out as SEC champs, even if we didn't think that these 17 things that had to happen for us to get back into the national championship picture were going to happen later that night. We wanted to go out there and win an SEC title. It was a great game. Tennessee, I know for me personally, I remember going against that defense with Mayo, and they had a young Eric Berry, who obviously ended up being one of the best players that I ever played against. I mean, you're talking about a top-tier upper echelon type of player. So it was a back and forth contest. I know we had a pick six. We were down our quarterback and our leader, Matt Flynn. Brian Perilou did a heck of a job stepping in that game. I believe he got game MVP there in the SEC championship game. And so for me, I definitely remember, that defense for Tennessee. I remember us going into that game with a really great mindset when it would have been very easy to kind of walk into that game and maybe feel sorry for yourself. There was none of that in our locker room.
I knew that would be a good story, but that was even better than I thought. And Lucas Panzica, who is our producer, just admitted in our ears, you couldn't hear him. He said, I actually cried after that game.
I was in sixth grade. Disclaimer, I was in sixth grade, but I did shed some tears.
Now you're making us all feel old because it is 15 years ago now. It's hard to believe. So today, October the 6th here, it's exactly 15 years ago from the game that we played against Florida where Les Miles became the Mad Hatter. I'm actually literally right now driving past Tiger Stadium where that game happened. And so anytime you have like the 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, hadn't got the 20-year anniversaries of some of these contests that we played in, it definitely brings you down memory lane. And it also reminds you just how old you truly are getting.
Jacob Hester, the great Jacob Hester from LSU, our guest.
Well, since you're passing by the stadium, Jacob, man, I guess, is that an advantage for UT, I guess, maybe at 11 o'clock kickoff, Central Time? Or does it matter?
It's definitely – I think it's part of the story. It's not going to be the full story, right? It's going to be a chapter in the book. I don't think it's going to be the full thing. Look, it's no secret. We like night games at LSU. That's what we fight for. Any chance we get, we want to play a night game. It doesn't matter who we're playing. It's an atmosphere that when it's at its peak at nighttime. And so, you push for it, you fight for it, but these fans are great. They're going to show up. They're not going to be as, let's say, hydrated as they typically would be if it was a night game. I think we all know that, right? And that's part of the lore. We understand that. But look, they've been waiting for a big moment under Brian Kelly, right? You get a new head coach that you're excited about coming to town, and you had a game against Mississippi State, but this is a number 8 team in the country coming to your building. It's also a team that you don't get to see very often, right? They only come to town so often, and so now you get a chance to go out there and see a great program in Tennessee. So I don't think it's going to be like a dead crowd, but it's not going to be a morgue like my guy Chris Doring said it was when he played there in '95 during the day. But I definitely think it's going to be an atmosphere that gives you a home field advantage. And, I think, gosh, I want to say LSU's only played 15 noon kickoff times in the history of Tiger Stadium, so it hasn't been done a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's just something that, again, just doesn't happen at a place like LSU. But they've actually had a lot of success in that noon kickoff time. And so it's been a story. It's going to, be a conversation leading up to the game. But as y'all know, once boot meets ball, all those storylines kind of go out the window anyway.
No doubt about it. We're on with Jacob Hester from SiriusXM and ESPNU Radio. I guess kind of give us what your observations and takeaways have been so far this season. And if you want to just kind of focus on the last game, you can do that too, even with the Auburn win, and kind of give us an overview of the team.
Well, it's definitely a team that Brian Kelly knows. He's got a bunch of fighters. They have some grit, and grit's on the walls in the building there everywhere. Which is a former fullback, I can get behind all of that. But they have shown that. I mean, they have shown that they're not going to quit. They're going to keep fighting. And look, it hasn't been pretty at times. I mean, there's certainly been times you're down 17-0 to I think a bad Auburn football team, but you find a way to win. You get down against Florida State and you fight back. You go 99 yards to what you think is going to tie the game. And so I think there's been some good. You're down 13-0 to Mississippi State, a damn good football team, and you find a way to come out of half and win that football game. So it's a team that has shown they will fight for their head coach. They're going to scratch. They're going to claw. They're going to do all those things. But there's not a rule in the handbook of playing football that says you've got to get down before you start to play well. Like, you don't have to get down 13, 14-0, put yourself behind the sticks there and do all those type of things. And so I think that's what they're looking for. They want to play faster. And this offense, when you look at it, they're better. They're more efficient when they go fast. I'd love to see LSU come out and say, you know what? I know Tennessee goes at NASCAR pace at all times, and I know they practice against them. They're used to it. We're not doing it for them. We're doing it for us, because our quarterback thrives when he has to go fast, when things are hurried up. Look back at the Florida State second half, same thing. Look at the last drive of the first half in the Mississippi State and the Auburn game, same thing. Like, that's when he's at his best, when there's some pressure to score. So put that pressure on your quarterback, demand that he goes out there and makes plays, and give him the ability to do so. I mean, look, Brian Kelly said today, or I think it was yesterday, hey, if you throw an interception because you haven't thrown any yet this year, because you're taking a chance and you believe it's the right read, that's okay. We need to take some of those chances. We're being too careful with the football. We're trying to be perfect. And, Blaine, you know this. If you try to be perfect in football, that's when things actually slow down and they go bad. So I would expect LSU to come out and try to get some tempo going early, because they're such a more efficient football team offensively when they do that.
When they become efficient, will you get your All-American wide receiver, Boutte, more involved? Because people are talking about his body language and all these other things about him. He's not getting the ball. Hey, Coach Kelly says, hey, man, he's happy as long as we're winning. So what can they do to get him a little more involved?
Yeah, he's an All-American. I mean, he's a game changer. He holds the SEC record for single-game receiving yards. I mean, we know the receivers. I don't have to list them to y'all who's played in this conference.
Yeah.
So he's special. But right now, the way the offense is working, it's not easy. It's not easy for them to get him the football. So what do? Well, you make it easy. You run nows, you run bubbles, you run tunnels, you run jet sweeps. If you want to get him involved in the game plan, you force it a little bit. And normally I wouldn't say that, but there's so many things in today's college football offensively that you can do to get your best players the ball in space. Hey, first 2 drives, let's see if we can get him involved. Let's see if we can get him excited and integrated into this game plan. Because, look, go 3-by-1. Put him in the slot there and say, hey, you know what, run the bubble. And if you pick up 7 yards, we're going to be happy as all get out, okay? And we're going to keep giving you the ball. And next play, you're going to come on a jet sweep. And the next time, we're going to give you whatever it is, right? Hey, a quick out. We're just going to throw you a quick out, right? We're going to get you involved in the game plan. That's on the offensive coordinator, and that's on the staff to game plan those things to get their best playmaker the ball and confidence early.
Has that been the most surprising thing so far this season? Is that they haven't been able to get – but anything else? Maybe the O-line play has been tough?
Yeah. And so offensive line's kind of it's shuffle guys in and out. The guy that started the year at center, Dellinger, he moved to guard in the second game because they felt like they needed him to move to guard more than they needed him to play at center because the guard position had struggled. Look, you got two true freshmen starting at left and right tackle. Now they're playing well, but that's just not something we ever see in the SEC. So the offensive line, it's been hit or miss. In the Mississippi State game, I actually thought they played really well. There was times in the Auburn game that they gave Jaden a good pocket. He's got to take advantage of that pocket. So that's been a little bit of a surprise how much they've shuffled that unit around. Another surprise for me is, we're talking about receivers getting Booty involved in the game plan. Jack Besh needs to get involved in the game plan. I mean, Jack Besh is somebody that I think a lot of. And last year, as a true freshman, I mean, he was kind of a go-to guy on third down. He was playing a little bit of a hybrid tight end slot receiver role. He's a bigger body guy. He's definitely not a natural tight end. But when you look at the top targets on this LSU football team, it's a true freshman tight end, Mason Taylor. He's got the most targets of anybody on the team. He's struggling a little bit. Look, he's a freshman in the SEC. My head is still ringing from my first start in Athens, Georgia, trying to go against the Bulldogs, okay? That's just what this conference does to you. So he's going to be a great player. But if your tight end position is going to lead your team in targets, put a guy that played there last year. Put Jack Besh in those roles. He can run those intermediate routes. He can block well enough for it not to be a tendency deal where if he's in there, it's only a pass. And I'd like to see them make a couple of moves like that. I think they've kind of, started to maybe tinker a little bit with some of those intermediate things, maybe put guys in a better position that they know have those sure hands on third downs. But it's definitely been a part of the story this year. We'll see if they change some things up this Saturday.
Jacob Hester, former LSU running back.
That's right.
Sirius XM.
No questions about the LSU front. I know the transfer portal kind of helped rebuild the back end of the defense, but how do you expect LSU to do against, Hendon Hooker, who's a legit Heisman candidate and an offense that likes to go as fast as it can?
No, yeah. I mean, I could sit here and I could talk 15 minutes waxing poetically about Hendon Hooker, by the way. I mean, you got yourself an absolute stud, and he's definitely going to be the guy that you have to worry about if you're Matt House. And Matt House has done a heck of a job so far as the LSU defense coordinator. Look what he did against Mississippi State. I mean, nobody has slowed down Will Rogers and the Bulldogs, and he did it. And, I mean, New Mexico, and look, I realize it's New Mexico. I'm not foolish here, but they had 88 total yards in a game and 2 first downs. I don't care if you're playing directional school U. I mean, that's a hard stat to achieve in college football. So he's done a really nice job of game planning, and also adjustments as well. This is going to be the toughest test, though. How fast Tennessee wants to go. Hendon Hooker with his legs, with his arms. I mean, with his mind. I mean, mentally. I mean, this is a very tough quarterback mentally as well. He doesn't get down. He doesn't get too excited. And as y'all know, I mean, at that position, you have to have those type of traits. And so I'm excited to see how the matchup plays out. LSU's defensive front, they'll get after you now. I mean, Vijay Ojulari is a first-round guy. He's a Sunday player, and he got after Mississippi State a little bit. And so what does Tennessee do? Do they try to double him? Do they do different things? Now, you're a little bit short as far as defensive tackle depth, okay, because Mason Smith went out in that opener against Florida State. You were counting on him. So you've really got 3 healthy bodies at defensive tackle that you believe in, and really 2 if we're just getting down to the nitty-gritty. Okay, when you go against a NASCAR-paced team like Tennessee, though, is that going to be enough? Are you going to be able to play those players the amount of plays that you want to? Because as we know, and Blaine, you know this better than I do, those big boys up front, what do they do when they get tired? They start tapping that helmet. hey, and if they tap that helmet and there ain't nobody to go in, that's not a good recipe for success either. So really watch the defensive tackle position. And if they're gassed early, that could be an advantage for Tennessee.
Or will they be tapping their calf because it's cramping? I'm trying to figure out, is that part of the game plan?
It is for some.
Hey, you got to become an actor in 2022 college football if you're on the defensive end. There's no doubt about it. Hey, when I was playing, it was 3 yards, a cloud of dust, and let's huddle for 15 seconds to talk about it.
No doubt about it. I guess one last thing. What is the identity right now to this point of LSU's football team?
It's a great question, and you always search for the identity of a team, like who are they, right? And I don't have an identity for you as far as, okay, here's what they're going to be on offense. And you'd like to have that. You'd like to, okay, they're going to run the football or they're going to play action pass and hit shots down the field. They're just finding a way right now. And there is something that I can enjoy in that, and the fact that they're finding a way offensively, it
Games.
doesn't look pretty. In fact, a lot of times it looks ugly, but it's ugly wins, and it's finding a way. It's putting a drive together when you have to. When a play has to be made, they have made that play. And I'm telling you, this defensive unit's probably not getting the credit they deserve. What they've done so far this year and what they've done to slow down some really good offenses, to me, has been impressive. It's a unit that's going to play a lot of different players. And if I'm starring a player for y'all to pay attention to during this game, Harold Perkins, true freshman, 5-star signee. He's already become a starter. He will be Hendon Hooker's shadow, I believe, the entire game. I mean, it's going to be, you've got your 5-star, all freshman, all-American type player, and he's going against a Heisman candidate, and you're trusting him because he's shown you he can handle something like that. He'll line up on the edge. He's going to line up in the A-gap. He's going to line up at Mike Backer. He's going to line up at Nickel Sam. He's going to line up at a lot of different places, but I would assume him and Mr. Hooker will know each other pretty well on Saturday.
There you have it. The great Jacob Hester, LSU legend.
That's right. Hey, we're a little bit over, but 10 seconds on the way out. What's the wildest thing you've ever eaten at a tailgate at LSU?
Oh, the wildest thing? Probably, squirrel stew. Probably something. That's actually really turtle soup has definitely been in a tailgate at LSU. I love turtle soup, by the way. It's fantastic. Now, one of my former teammates, Takeo Spikes, he talks about a raccoon stew that they used to eat at Auburn. I haven't gone that deep yet, but I have definitely hit the squirrel up. I've definitely hit the turtle up. Alligator, something we eat here like daily. That's not anything that's out of the ordinary for us. And so, hey, if you can fry it and it lives in the swamplands, we'll eat it.
Well, Jacob, here's hoping for a nice batch of squirrel stew for you guys on Saturday during the tailgate. Man, thanks for the time today. It was fantastic catching up with you.
Appreciate it, Jacob.
Absolutely. You bet. Y'all have a great day.
Yes, sir. At Jacob Hester, 18, Sirius XM, ESPN Radio. You can find him all over the place.
Yeah. He doesn't know that stew he ate, that skunk, or squirrel, it was throw up.
No. I like to think of him eating skunk stew. All right, when we come back, the Titans injury report is out, and it's skunk stew. I can promise you that. It stinks. Mulaney Mickey 104.5 The Zone.
Ooh, we running a race.
Man, it was fun catching up with Jacob
exhausted.
Hester. I'm sorry, Lucas, that we dredged up some bad memories for you.
Yeah. You brought tears to your eyes, right?
That was my first heart-shattering, heart ripped out loss as a young fan when I was 11 or 12.
Oh man, so it took you right back there. You got to see the guy who did all the damage.
The Ryan Perrilloux game.
He was the backup quarterback.
Ryan Perrilloux, yeah.
Which, to hear Jacob Hester tell it, because sometimes you forget all the details. I remember the game, and I remember him having a big game. It's funny. It was the second best rushing game he ever had, but he had 2 tackles, too. He was just one of those dudes, like Blaine and me were talking in the break. Blaine was like, that guy's just a football player.
He was just a great football player. He could
Hester,
have played
yeah.
any position.
Yeah.
It didn't matter.
Yeah, not a lot of Jacob Hesters out there anymore, but that was a crazy season.
Yep.
I mean, maybe the craziest season in modern college football history.
2-loss team, they won the national championship because he said, we lost to Arkansas. It's over. Let's just go try to win the SEC because that's the next best thing, the national championship. They thought their coach was leaving. They thought Les Miles was gone.
Kansas was elite. Mizzou and South Florida were all top 5 teams.
Well, I say bring me all the chaos every year. I mean, my team's not going to play for it, so I want chaos. I want nothing but chaos at the top of the college football ranks. And there does seem to be, I don't want to say parity, but it does seem like more teams can beat more teams now than I remember recently. You know, there's not true parity because the budget discrepancies are too great for that, especially between the Group of 5 and the Power 5. But there's the 1 week that all the Sun Belt schools beat everybody and knocked Frost out of his job, and there does seem to be a climate now where more teams can beat more teams. All right, I'm
not crying for Frost, by the way, over that $14 million.
No, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. I'm not crying for Frost either. He'll be fine. I'm crying about this though. Jim Wyatt with the Titans practice report, not practicing on Thursday for the Titans.
Uh-oh.
Lucas, we have sad music we can play because this is a sad report.
Let me see what I can do.
Come on, man. You got to be quick trigger, man.
We didn't discuss this at all. I just dropped this in your lap.
But you're a quick thinker, man.
Yeah, you quick thinker.
Yeah, we just don't have a lot of sad music here.
Well, we don't have a lot of sad occasions, but this is sad. Not practicing on Thursday for the Titans. This is Thursday. Ja L says NIL spreads out the talent. The transfer portal for sure gives it spreads it around.
Yeah,
That's people thought NIL would kill it. It has not killed it.
Nope.
It has not killed the transfer portal. Everybody loses good players. Everybody, not just somebody's great for a Group of 5 team. They go, shoot, I'm gonna go somewhere better. It's going both ways. Not practicing on Thursday for the Titans. Safety Imani Hooker, wide receiver Traylon Burks, no surprise. Linebacker Zach Cunningham.
No, it says limited participation.
Jim Wyatt.
That's
Jay
what I'm
Wyatt
looking at right
Sports.
here.
Well, you got the actual practice report. This is who he did not see in practice.
Oh,
Imani Hooker, Traylon Burks, Zach Cunningham. This one is not good. Nate Davis, Bud Dupree, Ola Adeni, Joe Jones.
Oh, man. Could you just tell us who practiced?
Monty Rice.
Oh, good Lord. Man, I'm looking at now. I see, oh, my. Man,
Go through that list one more time.
They just don't make them like they used to. I'm sure Ben Jones is not. He's limited. He just resting his legs.
Ola did not practice. Traylon did not practice. Cunningham did not practice. Bud Dupree, who they need to pass rush bad. They need Bud.
Man,
they got to get him some of that super Ben Gay to rub on there. Super icy hot, whatever it is. What in the world?
Why is Caleb Farley limited?
It's Titanic.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's why I took my head.
I never saw Titanic. I knew the boat sunk at the end, and I didn't want to watch it.
No.
Joe Jones, Torrey Carter, limited, and this thing's got it all broken up.
Why is Farley limited?
Imani Hooker didn't practice. Nate Davis didn't practice. Farley limited. I don't know. Knee, it says. Ben Jones back, limited.
Oh,
Ugo Amadi, he was back, full participation. Does that make you feel any better?
No.
I thought you would say yes.
No.
I thought you would at least
you're only as good as some of your parts.
Well, there's not too many parts that aren't injured right now.
See, this is what I was talking about. I said when I was talking to the Commanders radio, hey, man, you don't know who's going to be available. Every game. Every game for every team. The worst team in the league by record can beat the best team. Right now, that's the Eagles because they're 4-0. And dude, the NFL this is a crazy wild ride.
All right, it's been crazy wild ride for us today, but it's time for it to end. Lucas says our music's running out. Time for 3HL next.
Oh, in the meantime.
In between time, peace!